is Green Spirit coming back to you today for the YouTube Pagan Challenge 2017 with a question answered from the 2016 version as well. I have just recently finished posting a video, so you should go check that out. However, I did want to catch up. I've been out of town and I wanted to catch up on the challenge so you didn't think I'd forgotten. So I'm just going to make a very quick video on the challenge. So I've got it here pulled up, and just a moment. The question today is, are there other realms, worlds, dimensions, realities, or universes? I truly believe that we are not alone. Whether there are other planets where life is identical to ours, possibly. I do believe that there are other worlds, realities, and universes. I believe in parallel planes. I believe in alternate planes. So maybe your choice in this life, if you had the choice between two things, and in this life you chose one choice, and maybe another reality, you might have made that other choice. So you are continuing your life in the other reality based on that choice that you have made. I mean, that really, if you really think about it, kind of leaves things in an infinite manner, which is how I kind of see the universe as something very infinite, and not to be constrained within a box. Other worlds, planetary worlds, absolutely. I think the universe is so expansive to think that we are the only planet in this whole universe. I mean, we are in one galaxy, and there are millions, billions of galaxies in the universe. To think that our lonely planet is the only one that contains life, it seems a little kind of pig-headed or big-headed and a little ludicrous. So yes, absolutely, I do feel like there are other worlds. We discussed dimensions, yes. Realities, yes. Is there other universes? I don't know. Like I said, I think that the universe is kind of infinite, but who knows? Maybe in my small spectrum of my mind here on our little Earth, it's very hard to think about more than one universe because I already feel like it's so expansive. But why not? Sure, they can exist. Let's see. Second question. I'm going to go ahead. That was question 12, and I'm going to do question 13 as well. It says outdoor rituals versus indoor rituals. I like them both. The majority of the time I end up doing inside rituals just because of the space that I live in. I live in an apartment. It's not like I can go outside, but I have to be honest. Even when I had my home, when I was living in another state, like I said, I recently moved over the last couple months, and I own my own home. When I even did own my home, I tended to stay very much in the shadows because I lived in a city, and there was like an apartment or fourplex apartment, right next door, and I always felt like they were looking at me through the windows, and I tend to feel very self-conscious. I mean, I'm not doing anything that would be considered something bad, but I just think it's, my spirituality, when I'm doing ritual, it's my own. It's between my higher power and myself, and having eyes, looking at me and judging me and wondering what I'm doing. I feel very insecure about that. Not to mention, so, I mean, this is kind of sad. I had a cat at my old home that I had to put down. He got hit by a car, and he was microchipped and everything, but when like animal control did not call me for like 24 hours after he'd already been hit, so he'd been in pain pretty much that whole time. When they finally did call him and call me, and I went to go pick him up, I immediately took him to like a 24-hour veterinary hospital, and they didn't really give me a very good prognosis. So at that point, I decided to go ahead and put my cat down. It was devastating. Now, I grew up like in the country, and your animals, I mean, you're saddened obviously when they go missing, but it's part of being in the country. I mean, there's animals, there's, there's trucks, going up and down the dirt roads, if you live on a farm or something. So, although you're very saddened when you lose a pet, a lot of times you don't have to actually go through the actual thing of putting an animal down. And so this was my first time that I actually had to put an animal to sleep. And I was so devastated. I I cried so much. And if I think about it now, I'll get choked up because he was such a great cat. Anyways, it was like in the middle of November, and the ground, we decided I wasn't going to cremate him, but I decided to bury him in my backyard under a rose bush, so he'd be in a nice spot. Um, his body would be in a nice spot. Well, what happens is, it's the middle of November, the ground is like frozen solid. Well, my husband already sees like how devastated I am by the loss of my cat. I mean, ugh, it just broke me. And he was like, "Well, I'll dig the hole." And poor guy, he was out there in the middle of the winter, trying to dig a hole in the backyard with frozen ground to try to put my cat to rest. Well, I've got neighbors, and at the time we hadn't put the fence around the property on yet. And, of course, we have like the fourplex next door. And, these ladies see us. It's like the middle of the night. It's like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And here is my husband and I'm crying. And then, my husband's digging a hole in the backyard. And of course, they're like, what's going on? And they like sneak over and try to look through, and see what we're doing. And, I was pretty blunt with them. I was like, yeah, my cat died. Are you happy? I mean, granted, I was kind of in an emotional state, but I really felt bothered by it. Like, I felt like it was none of their business to come over. It wasn't out of concern, it was more out of, curiosity. And like I said, I just don't like having people look at me when I'm like in the middle of something private, I guess. Um, right now, like I said, I'm living in an apartment. Um, we are not rushing to buy a house right now, just because we are still waiting to see what direction we're going to be going in the next year. There is a chance I might be moving again. I don't know. I might not, but we'll see what happens in the next year. Um, if and when I do decide to buy a house again, I would ideally like a house that has some land and some privacy. I mean, I don't want to be completely out from, the city or the town. I want to be relatively close just because I have a child and it's nice to be able to take him to like the park or, to the local library or do activities that are a little bit closer to town. I mean, if it was just me and my husband, I would be so for having a house in the country with no one else around, you know? But that's not really something feasible when you have a child unless you kind of well, he's an only child, so I try to encourage him to spend time with other kids. And I don't intend on having any more children, so that's kind of where he gets his relationships with other children. But essentially, ideally, I would like a house that's kind of a little ways out of town, but close enough that we could still come in and not feel like it's an obligation and, not have a lot of close neighbors. Not because I'm unfriendly, although I am very much, I know, tell my friends that I'm very cat-like. Like, I like attention when I like attention, and otherwise I don't. I'm very much a hermit, and I kind of do my own thing. So, I'd be happy if we had a little bit of a property that had, some privacy so that I could go outside and do ritual. The only other time that I tend to do ritual outside, like, okay, so when I was living in my old house, like, I would do it in the shadows, like, where it was dark and no one could see me out of the sight of the, uh, houses and apartment complex door, but that just made it, I never felt 100% comfortable. Uh, so yeah. And the only other times I've done ritual outside, I have gone camping with my husband because we like to go hiking and camping and that kind of thing. And then that's when I feel like my husband is not the kind of person that you camp and go to a nice campground where there's like a bathroom and running water and any of that. 9 times out of 10, I mean, I could probably count on one hand how many times I've had those types of campsites where I've actually camped at. 9 times out of 10, we camp out in the middle of nowhere. Like, he'll just drive and drive and drive till he finds some place he likes, and then we'll park and we'll camp out in the middle of nowhere with no amenities. In fact, we've like camped out in the desert, like where they're like when you go into like we went to Canyonlands, and like as you're entering Canyonlands, like there's this big sign that will say, make sure you have everything you need because no one will know that you're here. I mean, this comes from like the park ranger service, basically telling you there's no amenities, there's no one here, it's too large for you to be found. Um, so make sure you know that you have everything you need. And I'm thinking, oh my God. But it's also kind of nice. It's kind of an adventure, and we did have a wonderful time when we went. And like I said, so when I tend to camp, it's rough. It's completely roughing it. It's not, anything with amenities. And so I tend to do ritual then just because it's very nice to be out and not have everyone watching you and wondering what you're doing. And it's really you connecting to your higher power and nature and grounding. And I love it. Oh, give me just a second because my phone is ringing. Okay, everybody, sorry about that. My phone started ringing. Okay, so anyway, that's how I feel about that. Um, Now I've got the 2016 challenge. I'm still answering questions from that one. If you bear with me, I'll go ahead and pull that one up. As the question from the 2016 challenge is, how do you view sacred text or mythology? I see sacred text and mythology like something, well, sacred text I think can be channeled um, to the author from divinity. Okay. Very much like the Bible, though, I think that everything you kind of have to take with a grain of salt. I don't necessarily trust believing in something, even if it is in a sacred text. 100%, absolutely, this is the right thing to believe. I think you have to form your own opinions and decide if something rings um, true for you. As far as like mythology, I think that mythology is a way to essentially show the human condition, and also to give a picture or an idea or instill a message of morality or like a life lesson. Um, it's like the mythology of Narcissus. He's very vain, and so his mythology is about his vanity and consequences of vanity. So I feel like mythology is used in that way. So those are my perceptions of the 2017 and 2016 challenge. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit the like button. If you would like to see future videos from me, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and blessed be. Goodbye.